What's going on, beautiful people? Thank you, as always, for tuning in to the Must Be Two Sides podcast. Mycole here with my boy Ahmad, and we are on our fifth episode, man. And we got a great one for you today. Ain't that right, Ahmad?
Yeah, we made it to episode 5. What a blessing.
Man, and y'all subscribing, y'all tuning in, and the support is very much appreciated, man. So let's go ahead and tap right in, man. And kind of something that plays off our last episode that's going on right now. The quarterback out of Tennessee has decided to do the first hold in ever in college football, man. Like, it's getting serious. It goes back to what I said, man. It's no longer amateur sports. This is pro athletics here, man. And what do you think about how Tennessee decided to let him walk instead of giving him what he wanted?
Yeah, so the quarterback Nico Iamaleava won allegedly, apparently, like I can't speak on the specifics or the amount of money that he was making because I haven't looked it up, and I saw that it was around $2 million last year or something along those lines. But he wanted to up it to $4 million this year, and it's just like, how much is enough? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then there were reports coming out that apparently him and some other players that were playing in the college football playoffs last year had their agents go to the universities and demand more money because apparently they had only signed contracts for the regular season and maybe one additional game and the conference championship. And now you're talking about extended games for the playoff and things like that. And then, Iamaleava goes out in that playoff game and just lays an egg and doesn't even perform well. So it's just one, amateurism is gone, like you just said, but it's also trash because it's setting the precedent of a bad precedent of what to do when you don't get your way or just being too greedy. I feel like you had a good situation. You're getting $2 million to play ball in college, probably don't even have to go to class. And then you're still going to have a chance to go be a multimillionaire in a year and a half in the National Football League. And now you maybe ruin that chance of getting drafted because who's going to want to deal with you like after what you displayed in college? So I think NIL is something we talked about last episode. Is something we probably go talk about all summer long and just all season long because I'm sure it's only going to get worse. But I do like what the head coach did at Tennessee by letting him walk. And, a lot of the college coaches that banded together and said, look, we not having hold-in players in college. Like, you want to do that, then we can play get out. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
Yeah, man. I think it's a classic case of what we were talking about last time, just pocket watching. He saw what Carson Beck was able to get out there, Miami, and he's like, man, I want that too. I deserve that too. Hold up, let me go to these coaches and restructure, renegotiate.
Right,
Brother. It ain't working like that, man. The grass ain't always greener, man. You gotta really focus on what you got already and lock in and earn yourself that more extra money, man. And obviously Tennessee didn't feel like he was worth that amount of money. Otherwise, they would have kept him in. He would have got it, man. So we'll see what decisions he makes moving forward. I see it's a lot of teams vying for him to pull up and come show out for them. So we'll see how he does, man.
It's always a thirsty team out there that's desperate, willing to pay whatever to get whoever. But then you look at a situation like if you're Iamaleava and you're going there and you're like, all right, are the wide receivers as good? Is the coordinator is good? Is the running backs is good? Is the offensive line good? All right, what if I'm going to a situation where it's not the SEC anymore and the team isn't good? Now my draft stock, tanks. It's like they're not even thinking about that right now because of greed and all they're seeing is dollar signs. And honestly, Cole, I blame that a lot on the parents. Like at some point, like you got to tell your son, like, are you in school to play ball and get an education, or are you going to college to make money? Which one is it? Like it can't be both. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it has to be like, all right, while I'm in college, I'm gonna get this bag, but I'm here to get my degree, further my skills on the playing field, or am I here to just get money? And I think that falls back on the parenting, like, and not being hard on your kid, or in this climate in society now where it's just like give to kids and very little is earned. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that kids now, or spoon fed more than back in the day. And these kids are just so used to having everything right in front of them that they aren't used to adversity or anything. That's why you see so many players in the transfer portal and seeking this and NIL and pocket watching, like you said, because that's all they've grown up accustomed to, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, man, definitely, and I feel like we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth, because last time on the show we were talking about how we can't fault these kids for going to get their bread, man.
Right.
And if it's out there, if some team is willing to give him this, if some school is willing to give him this $4 million, and he can go get it, I'm not gonna fault him for doing that.
No,
Now,
no.
now it comes down to a situation where you got to go perform, because you got this in your history. And if NFL teams are doing their research, they're going to these coaches at Tennessee and seeing what was the issue here, why y'all couldn't come to some type of compromise, and why does this player end up being a problem to where he had to leave the school in this type of situation.
Right.
So the only thing that will basically cover up those type of things in the NFL's eyes and GM's eyes is going out there and performing at your next school.
Right.
So if this guy can get out there and basically write his own story, it'll all be worth it.
I think they need contracts with this stuff, man. Kind of like y'all. Because it's like y'all, I mean, you do see certain players do it where they sign a contract and 3 years later they're holding out because XYZ got paid. And it's like, well, I'm the best and I need to be up, up the ante for me. I need to be paid a little bit more too. But it's like, at what point do you make these guys just honor their initial commitment? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you committed to this team for one season for this dollar amount. Cool. Let's get to it. Next season, you don't go from 2.5 million to 4 million if you ain't won no national championship. You wasn't a Heisman front runner. You weren't any of these type of things. You weren't an All-American. It's like, let's cool your horses a little bit. Like, you good. Don't get me wrong. You good. But like, come on now. Like, let's be real. But like on the other side of it, it's like, you happy the kid is able to get a bag. But I think kind of what we did say last episode, not all money is good money. You know what I'm saying? And just because a school is willing to pay you $5 million, that's great. But what is that $5 million now this year going to do for you down the road when an NFL team is calling your name? Because say, for instance, he stays at Tennessee, he performs this season, takes them back to the college football playoff, possibly gets to the national championship game. You're talking about his draft stock rising tremendously, being a first round type quarterback, getting $13-14 million guaranteed, over the next 3 years, and then still having a chance to earn multiple million more. Or we're just going to be greedy and go chase this extra, $1.5 million for 1 year. You know what I'm saying? You see it like that?
Yeah, man. I understand what you're saying, but I feel like we got to be a little careful, man, because blaming these athletes and looking down on them for making these type of moves, because if we really dig deep and understand like why the college landscape is like that, it's because athletes were getting exploited for years and years and years. So now these athletes are trying to flip the script on these people and really go get that money that they deserve. And
Thanks.
you have to fault the organization, the NCAA organization as a whole, as to why that the college landscape looks like this. And it's disappointing, man. But we just got to be a little more careful just looking down upon these athletes for making these type of decisions, when it was not too long ago where guys like me, guys like a bunch of guys that I know really did deserve the money, but the NCAA was keeping it all for themselves.
Okay, let me ask you this though. Is there ever a point where self-accountability comes into play where you could say a player is being too greedy or a player is non-committal? Like, because at the end of the day, like, this is not tennis or track and field. Like, this is a team sport. You got 84 other brothers on scholarship laying it on the line for you. So it's like, yes, you should go get your bag. But at one point, is it like, dang, you letting down your bros?
Yeah, man, that's a hard line to toe, honestly. Between somebody trying to get their money and this is a brotherhood, this is a family. I feel like honestly, college football was kind of structured that way, where okay, this is a whole family. Your coach is like your father figure, and all your teammates are your brothers. And the NFL was more of a business, but it shifted. They changed college football to a business. So we live in a capitalism society. So whatever we got to do to go get that money, that's how the world works. That's how our world works. And it's hard to really just fault these kids for just playing the game that's been put in front of them.
And that's why I think NIL just needs a little bit more structure, maybe a salary cap. I mean, because it is, like you're talking about some universities that just have lump sums of millions of dollars to pour into one specific team, whereas another university has $20 million to divide between like 6 teams. So it is really crazy. It's the wild, wild west right now in college athletics. But like I said, I think a lot of that money in the hands of young people, like we talked about in the last episode, and how they're not ready for it, leads to a lot of bad decisions.